And welcome back, where we are moving through Mequon and Thiensville to put the spotlight on what's happening in those great communities. Well, research shows that in America today, stress and depression are at an all-time highs. So today, an expert teaches us an easy technique that you can share with the whole family to help manage anxiety. Plus, when it's time to call a therapist as well. Jan Kwiatkowski is a psychotherapist with JDK Counseling and Consultation in Mequon. Good morning to you, Jan.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me. You know, Molly and I were just chatting this morning. One of the terms that was being, coined right now is called doom scrolling. And it's looking at all these tough headlines that are going through our social media and online and in the news. And, this sort of relates to what you want to talk about, and that's this national shock trauma. What is it, and what are we feeling with it?
Well, national shock trauma is really just the acknowledgement that as a nation, we are going through a time of major upheaval and anxiety. It's a little different. We had 9/11 and things like Sandy Hook, which certainly affected us, but directly affected a very limited amount of people. COVID is affecting everybody in some way. We can't escape it, and there's some trauma is a perceived a perception of lack of control and powerlessness over potentially real life and death situations. And so we're all carrying the anxiety of what could happen to us or our family members or our colleagues with this illness. And that's very anxiety provoking, and none of us can escape it. That's the difference. And that's why it's a national shock trauma.
What is brain spotting? This is a term that you wanted to mention. I have not heard of it.
Brain spotting is a brain-body based technique that's been developed over the last 20 years or so that helps us access and relieve trauma. It could be, sort of what we call big T trauma, abuse of any kind, or the smaller traumas that life presents us. And brain spotting is a relational brain-body way to access the places where trauma is stored mid-brain in our limbic systems. Because when we experience anxiety, when we experience stress, any kind of those things, we certainly have a cognitive response. We think about it. We have an emotional response, and we have a physical response. And brain spotting is a very effective, very efficient way, using eye positions and the relationship with the therapist in your body, to access the midbrain and break and release those little frozen capsules of trauma that hold us back, that we don't even know are there.
I love what you say, because we store that trauma in our bodies, and we carry it sometimes from childhood, many times from childhood, all through our lives, and we keep compounding on top of it. Can you release trauma quickly? And obviously that's something you'd want to do with a therapist.
Right. Yes. Trauma, you definitely want to work with a therapist. What they found with brain spotting is that talk therapy, brain spotting is used in conjunction with talk therapy and perhaps medication if people are on that, but it's a more efficient modality to access that which we can't access just by talking in the prefrontal, sort of logical, analytical planning brain. Because we experience trauma in our whole body and in our whole brain, and talking can only take us to a certain point of letting go and release and healing. So this is a much deeper way and a more efficient way to access the body and the brain's natural healing process.
Yeah, sorry, you hit it head on when you were talking about people experiencing this anxiety right now, and I hear everyone talking about it. And you have a tip, a technique that we can learn using one hand that really helps us manage our anxiety. Can you teach that to us?
Absolutely. It's a very simple thing. And the anxiety and stress management techniques I like to use, that I've taught to teachers, and I like teaching them so that parents can use them with their kids, because kids and teenagers are experiencing anxiety too. And what we know is that if we get into our bodies and out of our heads, we can break that cycle of anxiety. So we just take our hand and we think about the five senses: taste, touch, hearing, smell, and sight. I think I got them all. And we can make this a game with our kids or the classroom, and we can use it wherever we are. And all it is when we notice ourselves becoming anxious or being anxious is we name something that we see. Like, for example, I see my ring light in front of me. Something I taste. I've got my coffee cup here. I can take a sip of coffee. Something I can hear. I could certainly hear my voice talking. Something I can see, I think I did see. Something I can touch is my coffee cup. Something I can smell. I've got a plant next to me here, and I can smell the fragrance of that. What it does is it gets us back into our bodies using our five senses. And it interrupts that anxiety thinking in our brain. And you can make a game of it with your kids no matter where you are. You can practice it out loud. You can practice it quietly. It's a wonderful calming technique.
That's fantastic, Jan. I think just taking that away is wonderful. I'm going to give everybody the information for how to connect with you directly. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Here's the information for JDK Counseling and Consultation. She's doing a free 20-minute consultation right now if you contact Jan. The phone number is 414-485-0700 or jan@therapysecure.com for more.